As the war between Russia and Ukraine began, the very notion of a country squaring off against the towering might of the Russian Black Sea Fleet was beyond imagination. However, by December 2023, Russia's vaunted fleet had been blindsided, losing over 20 warships to Ukraine's audacious assaults. This string of setbacks sent the once dominant Russian fleet scrambling for cover, battered and bruised. With the Black Sea's strategic waters slipping like sand through their fingers, the Russian Navy found itself cornered, pushed into adopting wildly unconventional tactics in a frantic attempt to shield the remnants of its fleet from further devastation. The latest twist came to light through recent footage showcased on a state-run TV channel as part of a war propaganda blitz. It captured the Delta IV-class nuclear ballistic missile submarine Tula, sporting an odd appendage on its conning tower, an action widely interpreted as a sign of desperation, a final attempt to dodge the now accurate and relentless Ukrainian strikes. For a whopping 240 years, Russia's mighty Black Sea Fleet has called Crimea home. But now, under President Vladimir Putin's watch, this naval powerhouse faces a stark threat of losing its flagship hub. Nearly a decade after Putin annexed Crimea to strengthen Russia's naval presence, Ukraine's daring countermeasures are making an impact. These actions are pushing Russia to withdraw its ships from vulnerable positions. The shift comes as Kyiv continues to forge closer ties with the US and Europe. Ukraine's relentless offense has essentially booted the Russian fleet out of Crimea. Ruslan Pukov, head of the Moscow-based Center for Analysis of Strategies and Technologies, concluded, quote, "No Crimean port is safe anymore for Russian warships." As the dust settles, Russia's tally of losses since launching its all-out invasion of Ukraine in February 2022 is staggering. At least 20 vessels have been sent to Davy Jones' locker, including warships, a submarine, and various landing crafts, as per reports from the Ukrainian Armed Forces and corroborated by independent investigations at the open-source intelligence hub Oryx. The significant blow in Crimea marks a rare piece of good news for Ukraine, especially after its highly anticipated land counteroffensive stumbled in dislodging Russian forces from critical territories in the country's east and south. It's nothing short of astonishing how Ukraine, a nation without a significant navy, is giving the Russian fleet a run for its money. Ukraine is flipping the script on naval warfare, taking on Russia's once unchallenged sea dominance with a lethal arsenal of missiles and innovative unmanned maritime drones. The strategic moves by Ukraine have forced Russia into a tight corner, according to insights from the Washington-based Institute for the Study of War. The relentless Ukrainian onslaught has pushed the Russian Navy to hunker down along the eastern shores of the Black Sea, significantly away from Crimea's strategic ports. A significant shift occurred with the substantial provision of British Storm Shadow and French Scalp cruise missiles to Ukraine. These cutting-edge weapons are allowing Ukrainian forces to slip past Russian air defenses and land pinpoint strikes on critical Russian assets. These daring raids have not only showcased Ukraine's growing military prowess, but have also cracked open the Kremlin's stranglehold on Ukrainian grain exports throughout the Black Sea. This comes after Moscow walked away from a crucial agreement brokered by the United Nations and Turkey, designed to guarantee safe passage for ships through these contentious waters. Ukraine's bold maritime tactics have thus not only dealt a blow to Russian naval supremacy, but also reopened vital sea lanes for its grain exports, hitting Moscow where it hurts and showcasing a strategic depth many had underestimated. Drones are revolutionizing combat in Ukraine. Their arsenal, from compact drones you can hold in your hand to behemoths tipping the scales at over 1,000 pounds, is throwing a wrench in Russian advances. The stalemate in achieving air superiority has forced both sides to double down on unmanned systems. Drones are now the eyes in the sky for surveillance, the sharpshooters for precise targeting, and the knights charging into direct assaults. Ukraine, in particular, has been quick on its feet, integrating a vast array of unmanned aerial vehicles, or UAVs, into its military tactics. This includes everything from off-the-shelf drones, tweaked for the rigors of combat, to high-tech marvels like the Turkish TB2 Bayraktar drones, which have become symbols of Ukraine's defiance and innovation. But it's not just the skies where drones are making a splash. Ukraine's aquatic drones are delivering explosive payloads to Russian ships and unsettling the once dominant Black Sea Fleet. This shift towards unmanned systems in both aerial and maritime domains underscores a broader trend in modern conflicts. The Magura V5 drone, a massive machine capable of hauling up to 320 kilograms of explosives, is a prime example of how cutting-edge tech is reshaping the battlefield in Ukraine. This heavyweight was a key player in the tactical takedown of the Russian Caesar Kukhanov off the shores near Alupka on the Crimean Peninsula. This strike wasn't an isolated event. It's part of a broader campaign that has put Russian naval might in the crosshairs, including the dramatic sinking of the Ivanovets, a missile-bristling corvette. The Ukrainian military's strategic use of drones like the Magora V-5 has thrown a wrench into Russian naval operations in the Black Sea. By their account, roughly a third of Russia's combat ships prowling the region have been either sent to the bottom or left licking their wounds since hostilities flared up nearly 2 years ago. These drones aren't just about brute force. They're the Swiss Army knife of the modern battlefield, adept at reconnaissance, agile enough to harass lightly armored foes, and packing enough punch to take on the big guns. Ukraine's response to the challenge has been nothing short of remarkable, ramping up its homegrown drone production to keep its arsenal fresh and innovative. The seismic shift brought about by drones has left an indelible mark, particularly vexing for Russia, to the extent that it's radically reshaping its military doctrines to embrace these unorthodox technologies. The introduction of drones, ranging from stealth reconnaissance models like the Zaya Kib and Eleron 3SV to the surveillance-savvy Orlan 10, underscores a shift in Russia's strategic posture. Yet, the bite of Western sanctions has gnawed away Russia's capacity to cultivate a diverse and technologically advanced drone fleet, cornering it into a reliance on imports. Notably, the acquisition of the Iranian-made Shahed 136 drones signifies a crucial change in Russian strategy, albeit one forced by circumstance rather than innovation. The stark reality now facing Russia is the prospect of losing ships, manned by hundreds of seasoned personnel and valued at tens of millions of dollars, to drones which, by comparison, cost pennies on the dollar. This unsettling dynamic has leveled the playing field and introduced a chilling new calculus into naval warfare. Russia is scrambling for countermeasures against a threat that is as economical as it is effective. Recent footage, showcased on a Russian state-run TV channel, shows the Delta IV class nuclear ballistic missile submarine Tula sporting what appears to be an armor screen or cage armor atop its conning tower. Moored in Gadzhievo, within Russia's frosty Murmansk region, Tula stands as a critical asset of the Russian Navy's Northern Fleet, known officially as a Project 667 BDRM or Delphine-class vessel. Cage armor, also known as slat, bar, or standoff armor, serves as a rudimentary but effective shield against the concussive forces and shrapnel of high-explosive anti-tank weaponry. This method of defense, harking back to the innovative adaptations atop Russian T-80 tanks in late 2021, demonstrates a broader strategy to blunt the edge of adversary attacks, particularly those launched from the sky. With drone strikes becoming a significant concern, Russia has adapted this defensive tactic across its arsenal of tanks, artillery, and ground vehicles, aiming to neutralize the threat posed by Ukrainian drones. The deployment of such armor on the Tula submarine is a groundbreaking move, marking the first instance of this protective measure fitted onto a naval vessel. Vice Admiral Shekhar Sinha, a seasoned veteran of the Indian Navy, hit the nail on the head with his keen insight, quote, "It is a protective mechanism to prevent bombs dropped by drones in the harbor." Despite the silence from Russian officials regarding this development, the consensus among military veterans and experts is clear. The structure's primary function is to shield the submarine from aerial attacks, particularly those delivered by drones. Commodore Anil Jai Singh, a distinguished submariner of the Indian Navy, shed light on the innovation by observing, quote, "Apparently, these are protection for the bridge crew against drone attacks. They are used on tanks, etc., but they are seen on submarines for the first time. Submarines, anyway, spend minimum time on the surface, unless they are in the harbor." The unusual and rudimentary solution, by what otherwise has been considered an advanced and high-tech military force, suggests that Russian forces are much more concerned with the capabilities of Ukrainian drones and their destructive prowess than what they have publicly claimed. In Ukraine's dense, shadow-draped forests, a drone operator, hidden away in a secret vantage point, directed the silent observer in the sky, gliding through the air, its camera piercing through the wilderness below. There, nestled among the trees, lay what seemed to be a Russian tank. Its dark, menacing form loomed in the underbrush. With its unblinking eye, the drone edged closer, but as it hovered nearer, the scene took an unexpected turn. The imposing war machine began to waver, its outlines too perfect, too still. Then, the truth unveiled itself. This was no ordinary tank. It was a masterful illusion, an inflatable decoy, skillfully crafted to mimic the real thing. The lurking beast was nothing more than air and fabric, a clever trick in the art of modern warfare. The legacy of Russia's 45th Separate Camouflage Engineer Regiment, known for its inflatable arsenal, collides with Ukraine's ingenious use of decoys, from high-tech imitations to simple plywood constructs. This footage, a snapshot of the ongoing conflict, underscores a fundamental truth of warfare. Sometimes, the most impactful weapons exist only in the enemy's mind. In an era marked by advanced technologies like drone warfare and artificial intelligence, the continued effectiveness of simple decoys and diversions in warfare is a remarkable phenomenon. Armies have employed these tactics for centuries, but they trace their roots at their most basic form back to World War II, when the Ghost Army was born. This innovative unit used inflatable decoys and clever ruses to create the illusion of a much larger military force, showcasing the enduring power of deception. The success of decoy strategies hinges on the psychology of risk avoidance. Ignoring something that merely appears threatening can lead to grave consequences in the chaos of battle. The human eye's vulnerability to optical illusions adds another layer to their effectiveness, especially when deceptive objects are encountered from a distance. Deception involves placing visually realistic and accurately sized critical assets in the midst of combat. As the enemy directs its firepower towards these fabrications, the real combat assets operate stealthily elsewhere, often dangerously close. This seemingly whimsical strategy proves highly effective when executed successfully. In today's world, the age-old tactic of deception has resurfaced in the ongoing conflict between Russia and Ukraine in Eastern Europe. Both sides have turned to these time-tested strategies to gain an advantage. Despite the evolution of warfare technology, the enduring power of simple decoys and diversions continues to outfox the enemy. Somewhere along the southern front of Russia's expansive war on Ukraine, a keen-eyed Ukrainian drone operator discovered an intriguing anomaly. The drone's lens focused on what initially appeared to be an imposing Russian tank, positioned amidst the natural cover of tree branches and brush, expertly concealed for camouflage. However, upon closer inspection, the distinctive, puffy, rounded edges of both turret and hull became unmistakably evident, a telltale sign that this imposing war machine was, in fact, an inflatable facsimile. And so, the legacy of Russia's renowned 45th Separate Camouflage Engineer Regiment, also known as the Inflatable Regiment, lives on. Recently released drone footage, courtesy of the Ukrainian Armed Forces, unveils a seemingly ordinary field of Russian T-72 tanks, a Soviet-era model that forms the backbone of Russia's tank inventory. The video captures 3 of these deceptive decoys, with one strategically positioned beside what appears to be train tracks. The brief clip provides a glimpse of the 3 inflatable Russian T-72 tanks, situated in close proximity to one another. However, one stands in plain view, while the other 2 remain cunningly obscured by the surrounding foliage. This new footage, circulating widely across online platforms, paints a vivid picture of a Kyiv drone operator's keen surveillance. As the relentless conflict in Ukraine grinds on, inflatable military equipment once again emerges as a pivotal player in the ongoing battle. While this footage's exact time and location remain undisclosed, open-source intelligence outlets suggest it might be situated in Ukraine's annexed southern Zaporizhia region. This region's western fringes are a focal point for Ukraine's counteroffensive. The 45th Separate Camouflage Engineer Regiment has a history that traces back to its origins as the 45th Engineer and Sapper Regiment in 1980. It gained its first combat experience in the challenging terrain of Afghanistan during the Soviet-Afghan War. However, in 2006, the regiment transitioned into a specialized role, focusing on camouflage and deception, particularly in creating decoys, although this phase was short-lived and the unit was disbanded. In 2017, the Kremlin saw fit to resurrect the 45th Regiment with a new mission, crafting highly convincing decoys designed to mimic some of the most fearsome assets in the Russian armed forces, including inflatable replicas of Sukhoi fighters, S-300 air defense systems, and T-72 tanks. These decoys were transported in Kamaz trucks, and skilled teams could inflate them rapidly when needed. Russia had already been experimenting with decoys before the conflict, using inflatable props like MiG-31 jets and radar systems. However, the 45th Regiment's capabilities were extensive, covering a wide range of inflatable assets, from armored vehicles and artillery to missile batteries and fighter aircraft. Ukraine's General Staff reported instances of Russian inflatable tanks deployed in the southern Zaporizhia region, which had been annexed by Russia in September 2022. However, these decoys often failed to fulfill their intended purpose, as they frequently deflated. this region has become a crucial theater of mechanized warfare during Ukraine's ongoing land counteroffensive. Yet, the 45th Regiment was not the sole practitioner of such deception tactics in Ukraine's battleground. Amidst its prolonged conflict with Russia, Ukraine has developed a unique tactic, employing inflatable and imitation decoys as part of its military strategy. This inventive approach involves the use of inflatable replicas of advanced weaponry, including high-mobility artillery rocket system launchers and M1 tanks. Its proficiency in strategically utilizing these decoys against Russian forces sets Ukraine apart. Even wooden replicas of US-provided rocket launchers have been employed to deceive adversaries. In fact, a CNN video revealed Ukrainian ingenuity in creating decoys from basic materials like plywood, metal, and pipes. These imitation assets, crafted by the company MedInvest, are surprisingly cost-effective, with each costing approximately $1,000, proving the battlefield is not solely defined by firepower and strategy, but also by the art of deception. Inflatec, a Czech company specializing in inflatable decoys, has experienced a significant uptick in business, with a 30% surge compared to the previous year. Although the company's CEO has not disclosed the specific applications of these inflatable decoys, there are strong indications that they are being used on the Ukrainian front lines. Inflatec's inventory includes a wide range of inflatable decoys, including replicas of critical military assets, including various NATO military equipment. While the identities of their clients are undisclosed, images shared early in 2023 suggested the presence of decoy HIMARS and M777 howitzers, essential for Ukraine's defense, likely due to US support. These inflatable decoys, made from synthetic silk, may seem expensive at first glance, with some costing tens of thousands of dollars each. However, they are a cost-effective alternative to real military hardware. For instance, a single round fired by HIMARS can cost $160,000. In contrast, a decoy may cost as little as $10,000, making them a sensible economic choice. The primary purpose of these decoys is to divert enemy attention, attract drone surveillance, and provoke artillery strikes, all while saving on expensive munitions. Placing a well-crafted decoy can force the enemy to expend valuable resources on what appears to be a high-value target, all at a fraction of the cost. While inflatable decoys offer a strategic advantage in modern warfare, creating a convincing electromagnetic dimension to deceive the enemy remains a significant challenge. Accurately mimicking an entire battle group, including intricate modulation types and timing details, is a considerable task. A capable adversary can easily distinguish a decoy from reality if these crucial elements are not meticulously replicated. Skilled drone operators have developed various techniques to distinguish inflatable decoys from real military vehicles. In broad daylight, the lack of intricate details and the telltale shadows cast by supporting rods are obvious giveaways. However, at night, new clues come into play. Thermal imaging is used to detect the heat signature of real vehicles. At the same time, electronic warfare specialists analyze electromagnetic emissions to differentiate between decoys and real systems. To counter the infrared challenge, the 45th Regiment has installed heaters inside their decoys, allowing them to mimic the heat patterns of genuine vehicles. Still, replicating the exact electromagnetic signals emitted by real radar installations is a considerable challenge. Both Ukrainian and Russian forces use threat emitters, compact radar devices that emit signals without processing them. These emitters can be strategically placed alongside decoys to create multispectral illusions, but come at a significant cost. Contextual analysis is another key factor. Real military operations are complex, interconnected, and part of larger forces pursuing objectives. Decoys, even with added features, lack this complexity and often stand alone, detached from any larger purpose. And so, the drone that hovered above the 45th Regiment's inflatable T-72 tank only lingered briefly and captured a video, instead of attacking the evident bait. On January 31, 2024, in the icy waters of Lake Donuzlav, Ukrainian unmanned surface vessels, or USVs, tore through the waves, targeting the Russian missile corvette Ivanovets with lethal precision. As the Ivanovets detected the incoming threat, alarms blared, and the crew sprang into action. The AK-630 close-in weapon system roared to life, spewing streams of tracer rounds into the twilight. Explosions ripped through the darkened sky as some USVs were intercepted, but the defenses were not enough to halt the onslaught. The remaining USVs closed in, navigating through a storm of gunfire and shrapnel. The first impact rocked the corvette, sending skyward a towering plume of water and fire. Each subsequent collision tore into the hull, ripping through steel and igniting fuel stores. Despite the Ivanovets' desperate maneuvers and valiant efforts, she was overwhelmed. The final USV struck with such force that it split the corvette's spine. Within moments, she began to list, and eventually the unforgiving sea swallowed her whole. That day made a devastating loss for Russia's Black Sea Fleet. This encounter underscored Ukraine's USV capabilities, proving they could not be underestimated. Blistering new footage reveals the gravity of this threat. A video shared on Telegram shows a Russian helicopter desperately hunting down a Ukrainian drone carrying an R-73 missile as it zeroes in on another Russian vessel. The Ivanovets incident is just one example of Ukraine's relentless assault on the Russian Black Sea Fleet using uncrewed surface vessels, or USVs. On May 6, 2024, Ukraine's defense intelligence executed a surgical strike using a Magura V-5 USV to obliterate a Russian high-speed patrol boat, part of Project 12150 Mongoose in Vuska Bay near Crimea. Spearheaded by the defense intelligence of Ukraine's Group 13 Special Forces, the operation resulted in the destruction of the patrol boat, a $3 million asset of the Russian fleet. This vessel was typically tasked with patrol, anti-sabotage, and search and rescue missions. Mongoose-class boats, stretching up to 20 meters and capable of blazing speeds of 50 knots, are armed with 14 5mm machine guns, AGS-17 grenade launchers, and man-portable air defense systems. Despite their daunting speed and weaponry, the patrol boat was utterly defenseless against the swift and precise kamikaze strike by the USV. The attack on the Mongoose is part of a broader Ukrainian strategy to target and disable Russian naval assets in the Black Sea, forcing Russia to reconsider the positioning of its fleet. This latest incident adds to the growing list of successful engagements by Ukrainian USVs against Russian vessels, demonstrating the significant impact of these drones on the naval conflict in the region. Deploying these inexpensive surface drones often costs much less than the technology needed to stop them. Ukraine's impressive destruction of much of Russia's Black Sea Fleet, often through the use of USVs, has come at a significant cost to the Russian military. For example, Ukraine recently used domestically produced Magura V-5 drones to destroy the patrol ship Sergei Kotov, valued at around $65 million. Such losses are unsustainable for Russia and demand new methods to counter USV systems. The crux of the issue remains: how can Russia sustainably counter drone attacks when launching a drone costs a mere fraction of what intercepting it might entail? Without a cheaper, more sustainable solution, Russia is essentially swatting flies with a sledgehammer, and an expensive one at that. Russia has heavily invested in counter-drone technologies to protect its fleet and infrastructure. These include electronic warfare systems like the Brave 1, capable of jamming incoming drones, and active measures such as directed energy weapons and conventional munitions. These defenses are crucial to mitigate the significant losses inflicted by Ukraine's USVs, including the destruction of patrol ship Sergei Kotov. In addition to these technologies, Russia has focused on enhancing its detection, tracking, and interdiction capabilities, combined into a multifaceted approach. This aims to counter various drone threats, from single high-value targets to swarms of smaller drones. The economic toll of Ukraine's drone strikes on Russia has been considerable, affecting not only military assets, but also critical infrastructure like oil refineries and bridges. These severe blows have prompted Russia to adapt its strategies and defenses. The extensive use of cost-effective drones by Ukraine demonstrates a shift in modern warfare, emphasizing the need for robust countermeasures against low-cost, high-impact threats. Despite these efforts, Russia faces ongoing challenges in countering Ukraine's innovative use of maritime drones. There's no one-size-fits-all solution to tackling drones. If Russia wants to keep its navy afloat against the USV threat, it must heavily invest in a wide array of emerging defense technologies and learn to implement them proactively as situations arise. In the meantime, Russia will be forced to use expensive and aggressive measures to tackle the surface drone problem. A recent video vividly illustrates one of these solutions being implemented. On the same day Sergei Kotov was destroyed, fascinating footage emerged from the Russian side. Several clips show a Kamov Ka-27 Helix helicopter attacking a Ukrainian uncrewed surface vessel with its cannon. Some videos were filmed from the cockpit of the Russian helicopter, while another clip was taken from a distance, likely from another vessel or warship. The use of a Kamov Ka-27 Helix to destroy a tiny drone vessel might appear impressive at first glance, but it actually reveals Russia's desperation to tackle this urgent issue. The Ka-27, developed by the Kamov Design Bureau, is a Soviet or Russian military helicopter primarily designed for anti-submarine warfare. Introduced in 1982, it features coaxial rotors, eliminating the need for a tail rotor and providing greater stability and maneuverability in maritime environments. Equipped with sonar systems, radar, and weapons like torpedoes and depth charges, the Ka-27 is a sophisticated piece of technology. Its operational cost, both financially and in man-hours, is significant. Utilizing such an advanced helicopter to pursue small, remote-controlled Ukrainian drones is far from its intended purpose, yet that is precisely what the video shows. This engagement is particularly noteworthy because the USV appears to be armed with an R-73 air-to-air missile. This suggests that the unmanned vessels are also being used as mobile surface-to-air missiles, also known as SAM batteries, equipped with infrared air-to-air missiles. The R-73 is a short-range air-to-air missile developed by the Soviet Union, renowned for its agility and advanced infrared homing capability. The missile employs an advanced infrared seeker with a wide-angle gimbal, allowing it to lock onto targets from greater off-boreside angles compared to its predecessor. Its exceptional agility is achieved through thrust vectoring control, which provides high turning rates and makes it highly effective in a variety of combat scenarios. This footage starkly illustrates the lengths to which Russia must go to counter the drone threat. The deployment of a specialized anti-submarine helicopter to destroy a small USV highlights the urgent need for effective countermeasures. The intense footage starts with a seemingly tranquil image of the sea and horizon. Suddenly, the violent splatter of bullets hitting the water explodes into the scene, with splashes rising skywards in a diagonal line over the water. Gradually, an object bobbing up and down through the waves approaches the camera. The cannon fire attempts to hit the approaching object. Bullets strike near the moving drone, but the vessel keeps advancing without any apparent explosions or smoke. More bullets connect with the drone, this time raising some smoke or dust from the target. The Kamov Ka-27 Helix descends closer to its target while relentlessly firing at the drone. The Helix is now so low that its rotor blades create a circle of rising water around it. It continues firing in bursts until it finally happens. The drone explodes in a dramatic cloud of white smoke and fire. The detonation is so large, it seems it might envelop the helicopter, but the pilot quickly pulls back and ascends as the smoke continues to rise. The threat is neutralized, but at a significant operational cost. The Russian Ministry of Defense stated that forces of the Black Sea Fleet destroyed 5 unmanned boats of the Ukrainian armed forces near the northwestern coast of the Crimean Peninsula that day. According to the Russian fighter bomber Telegram channel, quote, "The Ukrainians were able to somehow connect the rocket with the USV telecontrol systems and are trying to work with them. At the moment, the most effective means against USVs are helicopters." If Russia cannot find a more sustainable way to confront this threat, Ukraine will continue to hold the upper hand against the Black Sea Fleet for the time being. The Kerch Strait, a narrow body of water separating Ukraine from mainland Russia, has been a key component in the war between the two nations. Since the eruption of the conflict, the recently built Russian bridge has become the solitary direct link between their vast transportation network and the Crimean Peninsula. As such, the critical passage has frequently faced assaults during the ongoing conflict. In August, over a span of 7 days, 6 shadowy structures materialized in a row near the bridge. With a dark tint around them, the shapes appear to be part of a warfare technique used since antiquity, a cunning protection for a major lifeline for the Russian contingent. But according to Ukraine, they are but a small obstacle on their path to a bridge they have vowed to destroy. The Kerch Strait is a body of water that separates the Crimean Peninsula and the Taman Peninsula on the Russian mainland. Proposals to build a bridge across the Kerch Strait, connecting the Black Sea and the Sea of Azov, have been considered as early as the 20th century. Despite surviving the dissolution of the Soviet Union in 1991, no project was finalized, especially as relations between the two nations soured. On March 19, 2014, a day after Russia formally claimed Crimea, Russian President Vladimir Putin announced plans to construct a unilateral substantial road rail bridge over the geopolitically crucial strait. Construction on this instrumental project began in 2016. With a total cost of $3.7 billion, the bridge was completed in slightly over 2 years. The swift construction pace raised questions among critics regarding its design quality. Regardless, in May 2018, President Putin inaugurated the bridge, connecting the Russian mainland with the annexed peninsula. It spans 12 miles, making it both the longest bridge in Europe and Russia's longest ever construction project. Constructed despite Ukraine's strong objections, the Kerch Strait Bridge, or Crimean Bridge, stands as the most visible and constant reminder of Russia's claim over the area, serving as a source of pride in local culture. Today, the bridge is vital in supplying fuel, food, and other goods to Crimea, where the port of Sevastopol, the historic home base of Russia's Black Sea Fleet, is located. Since the Russian invasion of Ukraine in February 2022, the bridge has also become a significant supply route for Russian forces, leading to multiple attacks since the start of the conflict. Following the invasion that February, Ukraine called for the bridge's destruction. In the early hours of October 8, 2022, a truck-borne bomb exploded on the Crimean Bridge, resulting in a massive fire and the collapse of the vehicle lanes leading from Russia to the city of Kerch. This incident caused several oil tanker wagons to ignite. Notably, this incident occurred just one day after Russian President Vladimir Putin's 70th birthday, and a week after Russia announced annexing 4 Ukrainian regions. Almost immediately, Vladimir Konstantinov, the chairman of the State Council of Crimea, attributed the large explosion to a Ukrainian attack. However, at the time, no group claimed responsibility for the attack, and Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky stated that the Ukrainian government did not order it. Limited traffic resumed on the remaining lanes shortly after the attack, and Russian authorities aimed to complete repairs by July 2023. Following the bridge damage, and without openly acknowledging responsibility for the attack, Mikhailo Podolyak, advisor to the head of the Office of President Zelensky, posted on social media, quote, "Crimea, the bridge, the beginning. Everything illegal must be destroyed, everything stolen must be returned to Ukraine, and everything belonging to the Russian occupation must be expelled." 9 months later, on July 17, 2023, traffic on the road and rail bridge was abruptly halted due to an emergency situation. Satellite imagery confirmed that explosions had again targeted Putin's prized Crimean Bridge for the second time in a year. This time, the structure suffered 2 underwater strikes before dawn, causing at least one section of the road bridge to collapse, leading to rail service suspension. In stark contrast to the previous attack, Ukraine formally accepted responsibility for the July incident on the Kerch Bridge. According to an official statement, the attack resulted from a joint operation involving the Security Service of Ukraine, known by its acronym SBU, and the country's Navy, utilizing uncrewed surface vessels, or USVs. Ukraine also disclosed the experimental design used in this attack, the Sea Baby. This drone packs hundreds of pounds of explosives and is faster than anything in the Black Sea. Several weeks later, CNN released the first publicized video of the remote-controlled sea drone attack on the Russian bridge. The footage consists of real-time imagery from the drone's perspective as it approaches the bridge and abruptly ends upon impact with the concrete, hitting it with up to 1,800 pounds of explosives. According to the head of the Security Service of Ukraine, Vasyl Malyuk, the development of this uncrewed surface vessel began immediately after the full-scale Russian invasion in February 2022. Such explosive-laden craft, like the Sea Baby, are increasingly gaining popularity as weapons in the ongoing and complex campaign around the Black Sea. In early August, the main intelligence directorate of Ukraine's defense ministry, or GUR, theorized that Russia was sinking its own ferries in the Kerch Strait to create a barrier that would protect the bridge from a future uncrewed surface vessel, or USV, attack. At the time, the spy agency reported that one ship had already been sunk and was getting ready to sink at least 6 ferries in the strait. Since then, the event has been confirmed through satellite photography. Images captured by Planet Labs from August 19th show no objects in the water south of the bridge. However, 2 days later, 2 small vessels appear on the scene, followed by another one on the 23rd. Photos taken on August 29th show 7 partially submerged vessels positioned uniformly. They are located about 15 miles north of where the mouth of the Kerch Strait meets the Black Sea, likely the route Ukrainian USVs have taken to reach the bridge before. It is still unknown what kind of ships Russia used to create the bridge blockade. It's also possible that, in addition to the sunken vessels, Russia will also suspend chains or nets between them to further strengthen the barriers. The nets, also known as booms, can have fences on top to prevent fast maritime drones from crossing over them. Block ships, intentionally submerged vessels designed to obstruct narrow waterways from the enemy, have a rich history in naval warfare, dating back to at least the 11th century. In fact, this is not the first time Russia has used block ships in the war. But this makeshift barrier may not be as effective as initially thought. According to a press interview with Stephen Wright, a drone technology developer, the sunken vessel barrier is likely to be only moderately effective against surface and underwater drones. Quote, "I can see that these block ships could be useful against a different kind of attack, perhaps a large ship being hijacked and rammed into the bridge, or even manned submarines. But against a weapon as small and agile as the sea drones that we have seen, though, they won't stop that." On September 2nd, the Russian Ministry of Defense announced that 3 Ukrainian semi-submersible unmanned boats targeting the Kerch Strait Bridge were destroyed over the Black Sea. However, these claims have yet to be verified by Ukrainian officials. Over the summer of 2023, Ukraine has been racing to expand its fleet of maritime drones to counter Russian naval dominance on the Black Sea. According to American officials, this series of assaults are intended to demonstrate to the Ukrainian public that Kyiv can still strike back, even as the counteroffensive moves to reclaim Russian-occupied territory at a painstakingly slow pace. In the face of ongoing tensions and desire to regain control of their occupied territories, as of early fall 2023, Ukraine maintains a resolute stance regarding the 12-mile-long structure. The symbolic Kerch Strait Bridge must be destroyed.